Jerk off to me like metal.
It's not about the money, it's the principle. Gotta watch who you revere, who you listen to. I speak the Easter, so my flow medicinal. And I buried the old man, now I'm invincible. Gotta be wise in judgment, it's critical. Either couple with this brotherhood or you'll get ridiculed. The greatest man, the greatest servant, I kill for who I minister to. And I'm going war, nigga, win or lose. Hey, I was forged from the fire, torn from the liar. If hand join in hand, you'll get caught up in the crossfire. Become a casualty of chance, I'm in my stance, still in hand, ready to swing it like a lance. If the enemy advance, I'ma enhance. Had the benefit of the doubt, he never had a chance. Hey, this the shit that they beg for, that burn down the wicked Judge Dredd flow. Bitch, I am the law. Dog faced it, prepared for war.
I'm gon' war till the day I'm done. Number one till the day I'm done. I'ma grind till the day is done. I'ma war till the day I'm done. It can't stop me. Nothing new up under the sun. I'm gon' war till the day I'm done. Number one till the day I'm done. I'ma grind till the day is done. I'ma war till the day I'm done. It can't stop me. Nothing new up under the sun.
I see what they say. Never envy a carnal man. Claim they real, they actions don't match what they saying. I got the upper hand, what you don't understand, youngin'. I'd rather bleed than concede, now that's saying something. These niggas cunning, they want my power, they never take it from me. Hey, for that money, I heard you assisted. They can't go out like that, they'll have to 86 me.
Slovakia. Oh, let me fix that right quick.
Yeah. Go ahead. Come on, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Look, I keep it low to the team.
I'm just getting everything on social media.
Ain't shit sweet, got soldiers on deck, and my youngin' did a sweet. This a whole nother way. Tell him get the fuck off the beach. I'm in the field with the cleats. He ain't one of us, he a breach. Nigga, come through all black gully jack, man. All them niggas go retreat. Come through all black gully jack, man. All them niggas go retreat. I'm in the field with the cleats. He ain't one of us, he a breach. Come through all black gully jack, man. All them niggas go retreat. Man, this shit is too easy. I'm on go, but they don't believe me. You know I'm winning with the team. Screaming Vinny, 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 VG. Hear them devils screaming out bloody murder. I'm about to close the curtain. On my grind, bitch, I'm working. Sorry, all them lies, it ain't working. Them niggas weak, they be churching. I'm a West nigga, that's for certain. If he cross the line, I'ma back up and I'ma hit his ass with his virus. And I come through 300 strong, 144 Leonidas. All my niggas we eat. I'm in this bitch with the Irish. Say all y'all do the street. Tell y'all let's do the street. When nigga made the wrong move, he make his ass out the league. He ain't one of us hit the league. He ain't one of us here preach. Come through all black gully jack, man. All them niggas
remember, make sure to take
I
tennis
keep it low to the T. UBK play for keeps. Ain't shit sweet. Got soldiers on deck, and my youngin' did a sweep. This a whole nother wave. Tell him get the fuck off the beach. I'm in the field with the cleats. He ain't one of us, he a breach. Nigga, come through all black gully jack, man. All them niggas go retreat. Come through all black gully jack, man. All them niggas go retreat. I'm in the field with the cleats. He ain't one of us, he a breach. Come through all black gully jack, man. All them niggas go retreat.
You see this look that's on my face, bitch, I'm for real with it. I hit the streets, put on my cleats, was in the field with it. You soft as cotton, just an actor, Uncle Phil with it. And then my target's on the move, bitch, I can still hit it. Hey, I speak true cause it's necessary. Gullah Jack revolutionary. Cold on them like January. Commander General is a visionary. Soul food, no sweets. Your preacher man, he's sweet. Matter of fact, he weak. It's wartime for peace. Think you hard, nigga, you ain't. Fuck with us, nigga, you can't. You smart cars, we tanks. We form up in ranks. We body bag this rap shit. All black, no bright shit. Real life, no cap, bitch. Fall on them, that's cap shit.
I keep it loyal to the team. UBK play for keeps. Ain't shit sweet. Got soldiers on deck, and my youngin' did a sweet.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and shut that down already. Outside Christ. All right, clap it up. Clap it up. Shalom Yashala, Yahweh Shem Yahshua Barakatah, Yahweh Shema Al Shem Yahweh. We are the Isupk under commanding General Yohana. Started 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York in 1969. We're here to teach the truth of the Bible for Blacks, Hispanics, Native American Indians, the real history that the Bible is talking about. The real truth of the Bible is deeper than you ever thought possible. And to understand what's going on in the world and how everything has led up to this point, with the boiling over of mass shootings in America, the boiling over of wars and droughts and massive land grabs from Russia to NATO and everything of the like. We have to understand exactly where this all derives from biblically. If you could look at the world through a biblical lens, then everything makes sense. But without that, there's chaos, there's confusion. And what we're going to do today is we're going to give you the direct instruction on understanding history. Of course, this is San Antonio, Isupk San Antonio's Monday history class. I want you guys to lock in, take some notes, get a notepad and paper, because we got some scriptures to go over today, and we're going to jump straight into it, okay? Let's start off with Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 22. We need to set the grounds for what's going on this earth, because the scripture says that the Most High, he's going to bring wrath on this earth. If you have not seen what hell looks like, look at what's going on around us. Look at what's happening to the children around us. Look at what's happening to the elderly around us. From being shot up at the Tops grocery store, to being shot up at a church by Dylan Roof, to having children, innocent young children being shot up while they're trying to go to school, just about to finish up their classes for the semester. You understand? Like, that is what hell is. But we need to understand this biblically. Go ahead whenever you got that. Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 22. I'll work to get it on the screen here so that y'all can see that as well. Go ahead.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32, verse 22.
All right, go ahead.
For a fire is kindled in mine anger.
Okay.
And shall burn unto the lowest hell.
Until the what?
Unto the lowest hell.
Unto the lowest hell. You understand? Read that again. That's heavy right there.
For a fire is kindled in mine anger.
Mm-hmm.
And shall burn unto the lowest hell.
Read on.
And shall consume the earth with her increase.
That's what we're looking at right there. That's what you're seeing on the earth right now. It says, for a fire is kindled in mine anger and shall burn unto the lowest hell and shall consume the earth with her increase. Now, what is it talking about? It's talking about one thing, that hell is actually on earth. Hell is a condition on earth where you find people in the lowest state, where you find people in the ghettos fighting and scrapping after one another and trying to be on top. But what happens is, what Satan will do is that he was going to confuse you into thinking that everything's fine and dandy because what? Because you got Instagram, because you have Facebook, because you could post a photo of you enjoying one glimpse and 1 second of your life while the rest of the world is in shambles around you, where you can now ignore that because you're enjoying that one moment that you have. Those 2 weeks that you get off for the whole entire year that you have to slave away at your job, that you have this small amount of time to spend with your children, with your family, with your loved ones. That small amount of time where you can gather some memories, some sort of memory, something to cling on to that just gets you through that next few months of you continuing to have to be a slave, continuing to have to deal with the fact that when you look around the world right now, there is a consuming fire around the earth. You're seeing death and destruction on the earth. Those are the conditions of hell. That's what hell looks like. Hell looks like pain and suffering. Hell is people dying in their early 30s and 40s due to heart problems and health complications. You know what I'm saying? Infections, coronavirus. I mean, the list goes on and on. You're seeing this consistently all throughout the world. And it leads people to being depressed. It's because, one, they're not understanding what it is that they're really facing. And they think that things can get better and better, but there's a process to actually achieving that better state. All right, read on.
And set on fire the foundations of the mountains.
And set the fire on the foundations of the mountains. Drop that. Let me get Matthew chapter 6 and verse 10. This is, of course, the Lord's Prayer. This is in the middle of the Lord's Prayer. What we're setting the foundation here in these classes. Before we get into the history, we need to understand that heaven and hell are places that are set to be on earth. Because just like how hell is a present condition that you see all over the earth, the heaven that the Most High is preparing for the nation of Israel, that is preparing for the world to come, that will also be on earth. And we read about this every time we say the Lord's Prayer at the end of class every single day. It's important to we brush over it when we read it, but are you really critically thinking about what's being said here? Matthew chapter 6 and verse 10. So we're going to continue to break down these scriptures and to show you more so that you can see the world through this biblical lens. It's going to give you all of the understanding that you need to completely stay in the right mindset in these last days. Because we definitely are in the last days. If you have to turn on the news and see a homosexual shoot up a school and 20 kids and some teachers get murdered, like, do I need to spell that out for you what that is? Do I need to spell it out for you when you see mass murders happen in Las Vegas and California and New York, everywhere? Of course, the wars going on in Ukraine, massive, destruction to cities, entire nations. And that's why it's talking about mountains being on fire, because you're talking about entire governments being toppled, entire kingdoms being brought low, where nations are having to pile money in to try to support this dying kingdom, or kingdoms that are getting taken over by other kingdoms like Russia against Ukraine, and all the resources getting poured into that. But they can't take care of the Hispanic kids on the border that are in cages, while billions of dollars are going to people halfway across the planet. You have to understand where we really are, because when you wake up to that, then you can look at the Bible not half-assed like you do in the Christian church. You can actually critically read it and understand exactly where we're coming from when we read things like this. Read this. Matthew chapter 6 and verse 10.
The book of Matthew chapter 6 verse 10.
Go ahead.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done.
Thy will be what?
Thy will be done.
The Most High's will be done. The Most High's kingdom will appear where at? Go ahead.
Thy will be done in earth.
In what?
In earth.
In what?
In earth.
Read on.
As it is in heaven.
And so the Most High's kingdom is going to be brought here on the planet Earth. The Most High's kingdom is not somewhere that you go to when you die. You understand? Because everybody thinks, and this is a slave mindset that we've been given since we were brought under the heel of the oppressor, under the heel of the fourth beast. We're going to talk about some of these things historically, of course, so that we can break down the history and give you the complete, full understanding of what it is that you see when you read books like Revelation, when you read books like Daniel or Second Esdras. So we're going to go into these things, but we need to understand first and foremost, hell is a condition on earth. It's a condition of pain and suffering. It's a condition of ignorance and tolerance. And that tolerance leads to more pain and more suffering and more confusion. The Most High's kingdom is going to be brought on this earth, and the Most High's will be done on earth. Read on.
Verse 11.
No, that's it. Read the verse 10 one more time.
Book of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 10.
Okay.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven.
As it is in heaven. And that's the decree that the Most High is promising, that he will bring heaven on earth. But right now, the current state is hell, because judgment is also done on the earth, because his will is going to be done on the earth. The things that he said was going to happen years ago that were written in these scriptures, we need to open up this book and we need to unlock the meanings of those scriptures. We need to bring out what it's really talking about, what your Christian pastor is not going to tell you, what your college school is not going to tell you. You understand? With your teachers growing up, they never understood none of these things. But you know who was given the authority to teach these things? It was a school that started in 1969 in the ghetto in New York, in Harlem, New York. And this school was called the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. This school was given the understanding of these precepts. We're going to prove it to you. We're going to show you just how exact these prophecies have come to pass in these scriptures that have led to what you see today on the news, that have led to what you see when you look at a calendar, when you're trying to schedule your week, when you're trying to, plan your vacation, when you're trying to, you're trying to do anything that involves commerce or traveling and anything like that, you're going to start to understand the influence of what these scriptures prophecies are talking about. And we're going to go into all this today. Now, give me Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verses 16 and 17. Okay, I'll get it on the screen here as well. I want to make sure that it's that we have it large enough for everybody to see. Okay, let me go ahead and get that. Ecclesiastes, let's take a look here. Ecclesiastes chapter 16 and verse 17. All right. Wait, is that Ecclesiastes? Oh, let me see. Judgment. Oh, it's clock here. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 16 and 17. All right. Go ahead. Go ahead and start at verse 16. I have it on the screen right here. All right.
It's
Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 16. It's after Proverbs.
This is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 16.
Go ahead.
And moreover, I saw under the sun the place of judgment.
The what?
The place of judgment.
Under the sun is a place of judgment. Where's that? It's talking about on the earth. It's talking about on the planet Earth, right? Aratazah in the ancient Hebrew is what we call Earth. You understand? And this is where judgment occurs. That's why you're seeing somebody commit suicide on the news every day. That's why you're seeing shootouts and children getting diseases and people dealing with illnesses. You understand? These are judgments. The Most High is judging the earth. Not and not to get too deep into it, but those punishments are just for those spirits or the people of the families of those children. You understand? Like the Most High says in Hosea 4 and 6, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, that he will even go as far as to punishing your children for the mistakes that you've made. The Most High says that in the book of Hosea. But because we disregard these things, we don't understand that hell and judgment take place on earth. But we go through this experience called life, and we think that if we act good, that God's going to take us in the end and that everything's going to be hunky-dory when you're dead. But there's no feeling in death. There's no joy and things like that in death because you're not in a physical form that could even feel those things. You understand? You have to be in a physical form to do it. And also you have to be in a physical form to deal with the punishments of the Most High. And our people have been under the punishments of the other nations and the heathens that he has put over us for us not obeying his commandments. It's time for us to come back to these laws, statutes, and commandments because our nation is now awakening back to who they were, the glorious nation of Israel that our people have been prophesied to awaken in these last days, while the rest of the world is going to continue to fall apart. The world of the one to come, the Most High that's bringing that heaven on earth, that kingdom on earth, is what we in the Isupk are preparing for. But most people in the world, you're not preparing for that. You know why? Because you're preparing for retirement. You're preparing for hot girl summer. You know what I'm saying? You're preparing the next TikTok video because you want to get famous. Anything to distract you from actually opening up this book and reading it for real. And the funny thing is, you don't read it like a regular book. You have to jump around and be shown where to read the book. And that's why we've already gone through 3 scriptures and we just started class. All right. And so we're going to continue to do this because I'm going to break down some of the history of what hell is. What has caused hell to take over this planet? What has caused hell to take over everything that you see, from the food you have to buy at the store, the currency that you have to use to purchase things at the store, and purchase the clothes that you have on your back right now, to pay for the apartment or house that you live in right now. Do you want to understand these things? It's time for you to pick up a notepad and a pen to write the scriptures down that we're going over, because you need to write it down in the exact order that we read in it, so that you can understand and also pay attention to some of the things that we mentioned here. Go ahead and go on to the read the rest of that. Go ahead.
That wickedness was there.
That wickedness was there, right? Under the sun, on earth. Wickedness and judgment is here. Go ahead.
In the place of righteousness.
In the place of righteousness. Go ahead.
That iniquity was there.
And that iniquity was there. You understand that in the place of righteousness, even where, like, say, for instance, our holy land of Israel, there's iniquity in that land. There's wicked people in that land. Did you know that they have a pride parade in the land of Israel every year? I think a couple years ago, there was even like an earthquake that occurred during the pride parade. And it was very poetic because the Most High is judging the wickedness. He's judging the iniquity. What is wickedness? What is iniquity? It's anything that goes against his laws. And naturally, those laws given to the children of Israel apply more so to the Israelites than anything else. But the Most High still despises wicked things happening on this earth anyways. It's gotten to the point where he's in that same mode that he was in the book of Genesis, where he was like, I'm finna just restart everything, wipe everything out, put a flood on the earth, get Noah and his family, because they're the only ones that are on point. Like, you're looking at the world right now, it's almost like it's like that, because you're seeing just how crazy things are getting. Now, of course, they're still good in the children of Israel, but they move and operate with the lack of knowledge, and they move and operate without their real culture. And that's all by design. And the Isupk is here to break that design and break that trance that has been put on our people. Go ahead and go to verse 17.
Verse 17, I said in mine heart,
Go ahead.
God shall judge the righteous and the wicked.
Mm-hmm.
For there is a time there for every purpose and for every work.
Because there's a time for every purpose and for every work. There's a time for hell to be on earth. There's a time for heaven to be on earth. There's a time for a kingdom to rule on earth. There's a time for a kingdom to fall on earth. That's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to go into these things. One more scripture before we get into the history. Go ahead and give me Isaiah chapter 5, verse, I believe it's 13. Isaiah chapter 5, verse 13. You writing these down too? I told you we're going to be going in today. That's why I wanted to get straight into it, because I don't want to miss out on any of these precepts that I want to get to you guys. All right. What we're dropping today is going to be real heavy, and I want y'all to stay locked in. I want you to, for once, I need you to turn off your video game. I don't care if you're trying to multitask. Maybe you're cooking dinner, but you're doing what you're doing. It's fine. But you definitely want to write these notes down. And if you don't, definitely rewind the class once everything is done, because you're going to want to have written these down. All right. Isaiah chapter 5 and verse 13 is going to tell you even more about the condition of our people, because we don't have our identity and we don't have the knowledge of who we really are. And the reason why I put on this, the Magan Dawada, the reason why I stopped smoking weed, the reason why I stopped eating pork and stopped trimming my beard all the way down is because at one point in my life, I had no knowledge. I had no awareness of what is going on in the world. And that thing confuses a man. A man wants to know what's going on around him. And to come into the Isupk and learn these prophecies, to learn the history, to see how it lines up, and how it all makes sense once you have the whole entire picture put together. There's nothing more amazing than seeing that. And I want you guys to see that as well, because, and this is the end result of us not having this knowledge, the knowledge that we're about to break down, the knowledge of our history, prophecy. Isaiah chapter 5, verse 13 says what?
This is the book of Isaiah chapter 5, verse 13.
Go ahead.
Therefore, my people are gone into captivity.
The lost 12 tribes of Israel are gone into what?
Captivity.
But I got a new job at McDonald's. I should be good, right?
Captivity.
But I just got a degree, and I need to finally work in the nursing. I'm a doctor. I'm gonna make good money.
Captivity.
It's captivity. I'm LeBron James. I'm the richest basketball player on the planet.
Captivity.
I'm Floyd Mayweather. I'm worth $500 million.
Captivity.
It's captivity. You just think that it's something else because it makes maybe every now and then you might see something that makes you smile. So our people being so grateful for every scrap that we can get. We're just happy that we have some form of enjoyment, even though we're still in captivity. You understand? Because you were not having to work to get food. You didn't used to have to work to have a place to live. You didn't have to work for a whole nother nation of people just to stay alive. Heck, our enemies would charge us to breathe air if he could. He probably will at some point. He probably will. You know what I'm saying? But even something like gas, something like water, electricity. I mean, you've seen these bills going up. We are in captivity. In want of all things, we are in captivity. Read on.
Because they have no knowledge.
Because we have no knowledge. Go ahead.
And the honorable men are famished.
Our honorable men are famished. Read on.
And their multitude dried up with thirst.
And the children of Israel dried up with a thirst for wanting the truth, for wanting knowledge, but not getting it. When you go to church and you're singing and dancing, and you're hearing songs, you think you're learning something. You might feel a little bit of a church high, but at the end of the day, you're going to go right back to that blunt because that church high goes away and you're going to need some other way to stay uplifted. You're going to need some other way to deal with the fact that we are in a condition of captivity. We are in a condition of what? Read verse 14. Go ahead. What's your question?
So what does the word famished mean?
Famished is like starving. Famished is like without nourishment, without sustenance, without the things that you need to sustain. Famished. Like, you ever heard someone say, man, I'm famished? Like, you're hungry. You're hungry, you're thirsty, or tired, those types of things. That's what famished means. But because our people don't have knowledge, we don't have knowledge of the 600 plus laws, statutes, and commandments that the Most High gave us and ordered Moses to give to the children of Israel, who, by the way, if you don't know, are blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians, those of Negroid and Indian descent, all right, from Hispanics to Puerto Ricans and Cubans and North American Indians, Seminole Indians, Argentinians, West Indians, your Jamaicans, your Trinidadians, those that were brought on slave ships that were from the so-called from the land of Africa, who actually fled Jerusalem in 70 AD into Africa to try to blend in. Those are all classes that we talk about in our history class. Today, we're going to talk about something that deals with war, because war is hell, and hell is on earth. And therefore, what? Read on.
Verse 14. Therefore, hell hath enlarged herself.
Because of ignorance, because of us being in captivity. What does that say?
Therefore, hell hath enlarged herself.
Welcome to hell. I know it sounds terrible, but when you really think about it, is it really that bad? You might think that at first, but with understanding also comes sorrow, because you start to understand that that's what really the condition is that you live in your life. I'm not trying to be like depressing or anything. That's just the truth. And I would be doing you a disservice if I did not tell you the truth. Because of our ignorance of not knowing that we, those Hispanics and Native American Indians and Negroes, that we are the children of Israel and that we have a law to uphold, that because we don't follow them, the Most High punishes us for it constantly, over and over, from diseases and death and gang violence, gun violence, abuse. A lot of our women have been raped and murdered, and murdered and trafficked and things like that. Those are conditions of hell. And that you see more prominent on the earth right now, more than the condition of heaven. So much so that you're just grasping for just a glimpse of what it's like to not be in hell, which is why you can't stop watching your favorite movies, your favorite TV shows. You're gravitating towards your Twitter, media influencers, because you're seeing them going on vacation and posting a photo in a really nice place that you probably have never been able to go to, or maybe if you're gone, you had to spend like 3 months worth of saving money to actually get the chance to experience that. Like, that's not living. You're barely scrapping to survive. And it's because hell has enlarged itself. The earth right now is in hell. It's in a hellish state. And I'm going to show you more. So make sure you're writing these scriptures down, because I'm going to prove it. Read on. Therefore, hell hath enlarged herself. Go ahead.
And open her mouth without measure.
And open her mouth without measure. Go ahead.
And their glory. And their multitude.
And their multitude.
And their pomp. And he that rejoice shall descend into
And
it.
we get comfortable with being in hell. Why? Because you have a PS5? No, you shouldn't be comfortable with that. You shouldn't be comfortable but having to isolate your mind to a fake world while the rest of the world around you starts to fall apart. While the rest of the world is dealing with the worst heat waves, the worst natural disasters, forest fires all throughout California. You understand? Massive animal die-offs and everything and the like. It's important to understand that that's the state of the world. That's the state of the earth right now. Go ahead and drop that. And let me get Revelation chapter 9 verse 12. So we're going to start off here. Here we go. We're going to continue to break down these prophecies, okay? Because I want you to see that this book that was written thousands of years ago has got something for you in 2022. Let me see. Revelation 9 and 12, right? Go ahead.
This is the book of Revelation, chapter 9, verse 12.
Go ahead.
One woe is past,
Mm-hmm.
and behold, there come two woes more hereafter.
Now, this is an important scripture here. If you've seen any of our history classes in the past, you'll understand that when we did our Revelation chapter 9 breakdown, what did we learn about the world wars? We learned that in Revelation chapter 9, it talks about planes flying in the air. It talks about World War I. And it talks about how that plane was made with engines that sounded like horses running into battle, how it had armor that covered it, and its wings were loud as the sound of many chariots. Revelation chapter 9 is talking about world wars. World War I, you saw some of the most gruesome deaths and destruction on the earth, and this took place over 100 years ago. From 1914 to 1919, you had mustard gas warfare. You had trench warfare. Shotguns were used in the trenches. It would create such a devastating condition for the people on the battlefield that had to deal with mud and rain and terrible storms and sicknesses and illnesses and rats. And, of course, on top of all that, people trying to shoot each other, right? So you had death and destruction. And what was the most common term during that time? It was that these are the times that try men's souls. But one of the other terms that they said was, this is hell on earth. Well, that's biblical. World War I, yes, that had passed. But it says there are two woes more hereafter. Okay. And so what we know of course, what's cool is that we're in the future in this, when we're looking at this in retrospect, because we're 2022, we've seen the history of World War I. We've seen the history of World War II, and we've seen the buildup to another war that we're starting to see take surface on the earth. Okay, you're starting to see Russia invading the Ukraine. You're starting to see tensions between NATO and China and Russia. You're starting to see these things, but because you want to watch TikTok all day, you're not focusing on that. Because you're not because you want to go to church and sing and dance, you're not reading the book. Well, in the Isupk, we read the book. And if you look at this right here, this is a book that has the Apocrypha in it. This is the 1611 King James Bible that doesn't have any of the books removed from it. When you go to church, it doesn't even have all the books that it's supposed to have. Today, I need to use some of those books, which you can actually buy separate. It's called the Apocrypha. This is the King James Apocrypha. This one just has it built straight into it, all right? Which is amazing because this is really hard to find. I paid $35 for this book in 2010, and they want like $1,500 for it right now, all right? It's good to have books, all right? So never stop reading books. But, of course, you having the Bible, can't go wrong with that. Get you a King James version, all right? Give me Romans chapter 9 verse 17. We're going to come back to Revelation in a while, but I need Romans chapter 9 verse 17, because one thing you have to understand about God, tells you in the book of Exodus that God says that he is a man of war. God likes a narrative that involves action and grandiose and a plot with a protagonist and an antagonist. That's why humans like making movies and watching movies. You know, you watch the Avengers, you watch the movie Troy, you watch whatever movie you like. I don't care what action movies with Denzel Washington, or maybe you just like romantic movies because you like how intricate and how wonderful the story plot is. I don't know. What do women like to watch? The Notebook and stuff like that. Well, it had a plot, right? It has a narrative. Well, the Most High likes a narrative that has to do with war. And one thing that you got to understand about the Most High is that he's going to be the same way. He doesn't change. And the way he's done things in the past is the way that he's setting things up for the present. If you look at Romans chapter 9, verse 17, and it's coincidentally when you go to Romans, it's very funny because I'm going to dive into the kingdom of Rome here in a moment. Romans chapter 9, verse 17 gives you God's perspective on what war is like for him. God's perspective on what powerful kingdoms on the earth mean to him. Okay? Read this. Go ahead. I got it on the screen. Hopefully y'all can see it. All right. Make sure to post in the chat if you have any questions. Go ahead.
Romans chapter 9, verse 17.
Mm-hmm.
For the scripture said unto
Pharaoh,
even for this same purpose have I raised thee up.
Right, because in the time of Moses, when the Israelites were in Egypt, the Most High had brought into the scriptures things that mention this very same phrase. It says that even for this same purpose have I raised thee up. The Most High likes to raise up a powerful enemy. Like the way, we just talked about the Avengers. Thanos was raised up without the build up of the Avengers movies, for those that are nerds about that and that have Disney, was it Disney Plus? Whatever. So you've seen how Thanos came to be, and he was such a powerful enemy. It took 2 movies for them to take him out. Well, the Most High has been built. He built up the Pharaoh in Egypt to be so powerful to make an example of him on the earth, to show his power on the earth. Read the rest of that.
That I might show my power in thee.
That what?
That I might show my power in thee.
That the Most High might show his power in thee, meaning that when the Most High parted that Red Sea and allowed the Israelites to pass that Red Sea, and then closed that Red Sea on the entire army of Pharaoh and destroyed all of them. And even to this day, when you go to the Red Sea, there's remnants of those chariots and items from the Pharaoh's army littered in a vertical line all the way across the Red Sea. The proof is there. People tend to ignore that because they think the Bible is a fairy tale, but it is actually a book of history, of culture, of law, and of prophecy, right? And the Most High says that in this history book, he says, I raised thee up that I might show his power. Go ahead.
And that my name might be declared throughout all the earth.
That his name might be declared throughout all the earth, so the earth would recognize him and put some respect on his name. Okay? That's what that's talking about right there. Let's take a break from that for a moment. I want to go ahead and get a little bit more into the history here. Let me see here. Give me Matthew chapter 24 and verse 6. I'll put it on the screen here in a moment. Let me just get there real quick. Matthew 24 and 6. Even for the same purpose has he raised up Pharaoh. Well, he's doing the same thing today. Let me get this here. All right, go ahead.
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 6. Ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet.
Now get that article that I pulled up. The first one. The water. It says, "You shall hear of wars and rumors of wars." And where people get dull in the mind when hearing this over and over is because they've heard of World War I, they've heard of World War II. So they're like, oh, well, why is this any different? But when you go into the scriptures and see that this has been prophecy that's been going on in the book of Revelation chapter 9. And even way before then, when we're going into some of the history that we're going to cover today, that it says, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. So how do we know when the end is? Let's get it. Go ahead and I got an article here that we're going to read. This just came out very recently. Okay, let me see here. Just going to put it on the screen here for y'all to see. I want y'all to see this. Go ahead, read that.
Russia's state TV host and guests have said the World War III has started and noted Ukraine could be just the beginning of a potentially larger conflict with the West.
Go ahead.
The Daily Beast Julia Davis shared a video Wednesday of a political scientist commenters and the Russian state TV host speaking about the conflict between Ukraine and Russia. Russian propagandists and government officials look beyond Ukraine and threaten the collective West of Kremlin-controlled state television.
And what did she have to say?
World War III has started. Expect us, she wrote on Twitter as she shared the video. While the guest and the host make the claims in the clip, an English translation can be seen running along the bottom of the video.
Stop. Let's see the video. Let's see.
В смысле, что спецоперация России на Украине закончилась, в том смысле, что началась самая настоящая война, причем война Третья мировая, мы вынуждены заниматься демилитаризацией не просто Украины, а всего Североатлантического альянса.
Whoa, did you see that? No, I'm not talking about Lizzo or whoever that was. Read that. It's going to tell you what it said. Go ahead. Here we go. Yes, go ahead and go down so you can see that.
While some in the West are plundering that one?
Yeah, this is a tweet. This, of course, what we're seeing here is propagandists from Russia publicly stating on their media, the talk shows and whatnot, that World War III has begun and that they are looking to demilitarize all of NATO, which would include the United States, which would include Germany, Poland, Britain. The entire world as we know it is turning on itself. This is prophecy. This is biblical prophecy. We're going to talk about all of this. And I can't wait to show y'all that this is in the Bible. Okay. Read that quote. It just says, expect us. Go ahead. This is a tweet by Julia Davis.
While some in the West are pondering what kind of concessions would allow Putin to save face in Ukraine, leading Russian lawmakers and top propagandists are advocating smashing the West, which they say is Russia's ultimate target.
Which is what?
Russia's ultimate target.
Which is what?
Russia's ultimate target.
Keep that in mind, that's what they said. Russia's ultimate target is the United States, because the United States is considered the head of the eagle, so to speak. Maybe I'm saying too much too soon, but in the sense of you can go ahead and drop that article. All right. So yes, we're going to hear of wars and rumors of wars. This is something that you're going to continue to see. So let's not forget that. Let's not get too distracted by our day-to-day lives and whatnot. You see in movies now, propaganda movies are being pushed more than ever before. That's why Top Gun Maverick is the highest selling movie across the whole planet right now. Because what? Because it supports the United States and its ability to commit warfare, right? They love movies like that. The timing couldn't have been more perfect. This is why the movie, it's got all the old people coming out the woodworks could go back to the movie theater to spend their 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks to get their movie tickets, their popcorn, and everything seems all nice and dandy. But what's the underlying message? war is on the table. It's a very real possibility, and it's a biblical possibility as well. All right. So drop that. Let me get now we're gonna get into it. Now here we go. So give me Daniel chapter 7, verse 23. So we're gonna talk about some of this prophecy. All right. We gotta get it out the book, but I need to go to history to show you exactly where this has been discussed. All right. This is where things start to get real historical. So I want y'all to make sure that we let's see. Yeah, there it is. Boom. You know what? Let me see here. Which verse?
Daniel chapter 7,
Mm-hmm.
verse which one?
Give me Daniel chapter 7, start at verse 1. And that name is Belshazzar, just so you know. Go ahead.
This is the book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 1.
I'm gonna put it on the screen. All right, go ahead and start reading it.
In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream
Mm-hmm.
and visions of his head upon his bed.
Okay. So the king of Babylon, Belshazzar, it says in the first year of that king, Daniel had a dream and visions in his mind. He was given a vision from the Most High. Okay. And go ahead, read on.
Then he wrote the dream and told the some of the matter.
So he summarized his dream and he wrote it down. Keep going.
Verse 2. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night,
Mm-hmm.
and behold, the four winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea.
All right, go ahead.
Verse 3. And four great beasts came up from the sea,
Uh-huh.
diverse one from another.
Four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. So imagine this dream, four large giants, like almost like you ever seen of course King Kong, Pacific Rim, kaijus, what are they called? Large beasts, right? So Daniel is seeing these beasts coming out of the sea. What's your question? Go ahead.
Is it actual beast or is it actually like the powers?
That's what we're going to explain.
Okay.
So of course, the scriptures is going to talk about that, and we're going to clarify itself with other scriptures from a different time frame that also talks about the same thing. Okay, so we're going to use the Bible to prove the Bible, because not only we use the Bible, we also can use what? Reality. We can also use history, actual history, and the things that have happened up until this point that have led to these beasts on the earth. Let's see what these beasts are. We're not going to go ahead and read the whole thing. I need you to go down to verse 23. We're going to talk about a specific beast. There's three beasts that are brought up, okay? And then the fourth beast is the most important one, because this is the one that is still in effect to this day. Go ahead.
Verse 23. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon earth.
So the beast is what?
The kingdoms.
No, yes, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon earth. Go ahead.
Which shall be diverse from all kingdoms.
Okay. So the particular kingdom is going to be different from all the other ones. And why so? Go ahead, read on.
It shall devour the whole earth.
This kingdom, this beast will what?
Devour the whole earth.
So this is what you have to understand, because people that talk about the mark of the beast, the blah, 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 they think it's like a computer chip, or they think it's some scary monster or something like that. You're watching too much movies. You need to pick up the Bible and read it. And that's why we're showing you these precepts here, because I don't want you to be fooled about what it's really saying. I want you to understand that the fourth beast that you were reading about is diverse from all the other kingdoms, and it's going to control the entire earth. I'm not going to tell you what that kingdom is. I want you to start finding out for yourself as we break this down. Go ahead.
And shall tread it down and break it into pieces.
Sounds like a monster movie, but let's read on. Let's see what else it does. Go ahead. Go verse 24.
Verse 24. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise.
This is how we know it's not talking about a monster. It's talking about kingdoms on the earth and rulers of kingdoms on that earth. Particularly in this particular one, you have 10 kings, 10 conglomerations that create that beast as a whole, that kingdom as a whole, that confederacy as a whole. Read on.
And another shall rise after them.
Uh-huh.
And he shall be diverse from the first. And he shall subdue 3 kings.
Now that's a prophecy that hasn't happened yet. But you need to understand that that's talking about Christ, King of Kings, that will eventually destroy this beast. Okay? Because he says, and he shall be diverse from us and shall subdue the 3 kings. All right, give me verse 25. Go ahead.
And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High.
Shall wear out the saints of the Most High. So this beast, the Christ taking over this beast is not mentioned here. But what is mentioned is that these kingdoms that have been set up are going to speak great words against the Most High. How do you know that? Because they say things like, it's okay to be a homosexual. They say things like, pork is the other white meat. They say things to change the fabric of society itself. Read.
And think to change times and laws.
And think to what?
Change times and laws.
You are governed by what they cause the Roman calendar. All right? The days of the week that are based off of Greco-Roman mythology. From Monday, which is Moon's Day, Sunday, which is Sun's Day, Thursday, which is Thor's Day, Wednesday, which is Odin's Day, right? Everything that you deal with, even all the way down to the months of the year and the days of the months and everything like that, it comes down to times that were set in place when this beast came to power. We're going to talk about these things. We're going to go further into it because going and brushing the surface with this is not enough for the average person to see it. But to get more and more of the scriptures in your mind, you'll start to see it more clearly. Okay? So first thing you got to understand is that the beast is a kingdom on the earth that took over all the other kingdoms on the earth. I have a book here. Go ahead and set that down for a second. I'm going to show the folks this right here. I'm going to read an excerpt from this book right here. This is an important it's a history book. It's called The Roman Empire, the Empire of the Edomite. Now, if you've been studying in any of the classes, we know that Edom is the kingdom that was derived from the man Esau, who is Jacob's brother, who hated Jacob. Jacob being the progenitor of the 12 tribes of Israel, Esau is the man that came out red and hairy and was against Jacob, who later on became what was known as the Romans. Okay, in one of his empires. I'm gonna read some of this here because this kicks right off of what we're reading. Okay, this is how the book starts out. It was a history book from originally published in 1858. So this book is like 150 years old. We're reading it here in 2022 because I want you to see that what we're talking about is not something that's necessarily new, but it is definitely something that was forcefully hidden to not be known. So you're reading stuff that they don't want you to know because the people that don't want you to know are these people that it's talking smack about because they're the ones that hid all this information. So the Isupk reveals that hidden information. And we use the books of the Bible, even the hidden books of the Bible, to show you specifically who the beast is and who their kingdom is and what the demise of that kingdom is going to look like. Because the decree that's starting to take shape on this earth is one that sounds like the drums of war are starting to beat harder and harder than ever. We just read an article saying Russia says World War III has already started. And they're building up their nukes, and United States is sending javelins and artillery and all kinds of weaponry to support them, right? It says right here in the first page, it says, in the first year of the reign of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, the prophet Daniel had a dream. We just read that in the book of Daniel, chapter 7. And visions of his head upon his bed. I saw, writes the prophet, in my vision by night, and behold, the 4 winds of heaven strove upon the great sea. And 4 beasts came up from the sea, diverse from one another. The first was like a lion, It had eagle's wings. Behold, another beast, a second that looked like a bear, and raised itself up on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, but between the teeth of it. After this, I beheld the third beast that looked like a leopard, which had upon its back 4 wings of a fowl. This beast also had 4 heads. After this, I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, which is the one that we want to focus on today. The other beast you could read in Officer Kabar's breakdown of the, I believe, is the Daniel chapter 7 breakdown, where he goes even further into each one and what they are. This book will graze over some of those things, so you will hear what specific kingdoms those were. But the fourth beast is the one that we're focusing on, because not only is it historically the Roman Empire, or the Greco-Roman Empire, but it is today what you know as NATO, Russia, their conglomerates, all of them. They are a part of this beast. And so it's important to know these things because it's the truth. I'm not trying to be racist. I'm not trying to say, oh, he's the bad guy. Well, he is, but you got to know who the enemy is if you want to even understand the story, right? A lot of us are coming in and trying to understand this book, but don't understand the plot. They don't understand the protagonist, the antagonist. The UPK is here to show you who the protagonists are. I'm talking about Blacks, Hispanics, Native American Indians, and who the antagonists are, the people that came and created these kingdoms on the earth, which the scriptures refers to as beasts. And it says, the fourth beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and broke in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet. It was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the sons of man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom, and all peoples, nations, and languages serve him. These great beasts, which are 4 kings which must arise out of the earth. The fourth beast will be the 4th kingdom upon the earth. It will be diverse from all the kingdoms. We just read about that. Rome was the kingdom that did this, and this book is even telling you that. It says the 3 first beasts are empires of the Babylonians, the Persians, and the Macedonians. The lion with the eagle's wings, that's the Babylonian, right? The griffin, that was this symbolic icon of Babylon historically, and Daniel saw this in his dream. He saw this in his vision. The Persians, which was that what was it, the bear with the 3 ribs. The Persians symbol was the bear. Okay, that's biblically and also historically proven to be accurate. And then the Macedonians, which is the leopard with the 4 wings. The leopards were known as the what do you call what was the Medes, which was the the Greco era before it was split up into 4 parts after the death of Alexander the Great. Okay, so that's another class though. I'm getting to the fourth part. It says, the fourth beast or kingdom of the prophecy stood revealed in the iron domination of the Romans, and to the subsequent inquiry, whence came the Romans? That people have insisted on replying in the words of their great poets. So basically, the Romans were asking themselves where they came from. And what you're seeing in books like this is that even in the 1800s, they were saying that this was actually, the Romans come from biblically the people called Edom. But you have to understand more and more prophecies like the book of Obadiah, the histories in the book of Genesis, the trouble between Jacob and Esau, to understand exactly why the people that derive from the Romans, they don't like Hispanics. They don't like Black folks. They don't like Native American folks. And what you see throughout history is the people that came from the Roman Empire are always killing them in the streets, putting drugs and guns in their neighborhoods, keeping them in a hellish condition, keeping them ignorant of who they are. And the world that you see right now is in hell because they are in power, and that is the very same beast that the book of Daniel is talking about. All right, so go ahead and go back to that. I'm going to get it back on the screen. All right, I'm going to read that one more time. Let me put that on the screen one more time. All right. If you need me to recover any of the scriptures we've gone over, go ahead and make sure you post that in the chat. All right. Go ahead. Daniel chapter 7, verse 25. Go ahead.
of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 25.
Mm-hmm.
And he shall speak great words against the Most High,
All right.
and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws.
I think to change the times and the laws. That's why you have to celebrate. I mean, a lot of people here celebrate birthdays and holidays, and everything that you do is actually rooted in pagan culture. All right, Greco-Roman culture. That's why Valentine's Day is tied into the what's it called, the goddess of fertility. That's why Easter is tied in with the goddess of fertility. That's why Christmas is rooted in the Roman or the Babylonian custom of Saturnalia, which the Romans kept, because they liked they even worshiped Saturn as one of their gods. You understand? Like, this is such an obvious thing, but because we don't read any books, we don't continue to learn any of these things, and because we stay ignorant, then it allows them to stay in power, because the beast still has their mark on all the residents of the earth, and because of that, hell has enlarged itself. All right, give me go ahead and give me 2nd Ezra chapter 12. This is in the Apocrypha. Okay. 2nd Ezra chapter 12. Let me see here. 2nd Ezra chapter 12. Let me see. Come on, where you at? Shoot. Man, we've gone through quite a few scriptures already, but we're just getting started, man. This is crazy.
What verse?
2nd Ezra chapter 12. Give me verse 9. Start at verse 9.
This is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 12, verse 9. For thou hast judged me worthy to show me the last time.
So now we're going to talk about history and how it ties in with prophecy, and why you're seeing wars breaking out today. Why you're starting to see kingdoms rising against kingdoms, and wars and rumors of wars. You know why Christ said those things? Because he understood that these prophecies were going to come to pass at some point. Now it's time for you to understand that these prophecies are coming to pass, but you'll actually have some solidity in knowing that these things are starting to happen, because we've seen these things happen. We read in Revelation how one woe is past and two woes cometh quickly, and that the world wars have been taking place, and that we're starting to see kingdoms rising on the earth. And mind you, the Apocrypha, when it was talking about those precepts that was broken down in Daniel, the book of Daniel was written way before the Babylonian Empire, way before the Persian and Medes and the Greco-Roman Empire came to be. But during the time of Esdras, he was given the understanding of the vision. He was given even more information that would now echo throughout time, and history is now showing you that these things came to pass. And now we're in the time where we can understand the Bible, and because of that, now we can know who the beast is. Now we can understand why the world is such a hellish condition right now. And that is a very important thing that you need to have, because if you don't have that, you're going to keep smoking weed. You're going to keep wanting to fight your homegirl who's a Hispanic girl just like yourself. You're going to want to still, show discretion and hatred towards your own people, rather than to take care of each other, because you have no knowledge, like the scripture says. Without that knowledge, without that foundation of your culture, we have nothing. And hell enlarges itself because of it. So in the Isupk, what are we actually doing? We're destroying hell as we know it, because we're revealing what it is and revealing the solution to reversing its effect on us. You understand? 2nd Ezra chapter 12, verse 9 is going to explain what happened in the book of Daniel chapter 7. So you should be writing these precepts down. Go ahead, read that.
This is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 12, verse 9.
Go ahead.
For For thou hast judged me worthy to show me the last time.
The end times. Take your time. You get some water if you need some water.
The end time.
Go ahead.
Verse 10.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 10. And he said unto me, this is the interpretation of the vision.
Right, because there's he was being visited by an angel. Esdras was being visited by an angel who then wanted to give him the understanding of the vision and the completion of the understanding that Daniel started to see hundreds of years ago before this took place. Now I'll mention, this is important. Tell them where you're at again.
Book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 12, verse 10.
Now, one thing you got to keep in mind is that this is the Apocrypha, which was removed from the King James Bible in the late 1800s by the Roman Catholic Church. We just read in this book right here that the fourth beast in the book of Daniel turned out to be Rome. So, of course, Rome would want to hide breakdowns like this because they don't want you to know that that's them. It's like fake news, right? It's like censoring the Bible to hide who the real bad guy is in the scriptures, because you want to say that man that you think is all, you know, hunky dory and nice looking because he sings country music is somebody that the Most High actually deems as worthy of ruling this planet. You think that because the image of the beast that's been put up was Caesar Borgia, who was a white man that was the second son of Pope Alexander VI of Rome, that Caesar Borgia, that his image is Christ instead of the black man that it describes in the book of Revelation and in the book of Daniel chapter 10. Now we're starting to see how it all comes together, and now you can understand why there's brothers and sisters yelling on the street telling people to stop sinning, because it's true, because the beast is Rome, and we're going to find out just exactly how precise these scriptures are breaking this down. 2nd Ezra chapter 12 verse 11. Go to verse 11.
This is the book of 2nd Ezra chapter 12 verse 11.
Go ahead.
The eagle whom thou slowest.
The eagle whom thou sawest come up from the sea. Go ahead.
Is the kingdom which was seen in the vision of thy brother Daniel.
Oh, I need you. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna let me see here. Duplicate. This is gonna be a real tricky part. I need to change this here because I need to be able to go back and forth. Hold on. We have to go between Daniel chapter 11 and 2nd Ezra chapter 11 and 2nd Ezra chapter 12, because it's going to explain each chapter. Like, they explain each other as you read it. All right. And the scripture says that we ought to read the scriptures precept upon precept, line upon line, so that we can unravel the mysteries of this history here. All right. So that's why I'm getting, we have 2nd Ezra chapter 12. I also need 2nd Ezra chapter 11. Let me get I believe it's verse 12. Let me see. Read that verse again, the one that you just got. Go ahead.
Verse, the eagle whom thou sawest come up from the sea is the kingdom which was seen in the vision of thy brother Daniel.
Because we just read that. We were reading about that. Now jump to 2nd Ezra chapter 11 verse 1. You're looking at it, right? Go ahead.
2nd Ezra chapter 11 verse 1?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not looking at this part.
Yeah, I need you to keep your hand on both, because we're gonna go back and forth between the two. Go ahead.
This is the book of 2nd Ezra chapter 11 verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
Then saw I a dream, and behold, there came up from the sea an eagle.
Talking about that same eagle, right? Go ahead.
Which had 12 feathered wings,
Mm-hmm.
and 3 heads.
This eagle had 12 feathered wings and 3 heads. Okay. Yes. Go ahead. Read verse 2.
Verse 2. And I saw, and behold, she spread her wings over all the earth,
Mm-hmm.
and all the winds of the air blew on her,
Go ahead.
and were gathered together.
All right, now go ahead and go back to 2nd Ezra chapter 12. I want you to get verse 12 now.
This is the book of Ezra chapter 12, verse 12.
Mm-hmm.
But it was not expounded unto him. Therefore, now I declared it unto thee.
The angel is going to now explain what that vision in Daniel was talking about specifically, because again, we were talking about kingdoms, we were talking about kings when we were reading the book of Daniel chapter 7. Now in 2nd Esdras, in the hidden book of the Bible, like I said, that the Romans removed from the Bible, the angel says he's now going to explain to Esdras here what it was talking about in that book of Daniel. Go ahead.
Verse 13. Behold, the days will come that there shall rise up a kingdom upon earth.
Oh, what?
A kingdom upon earth.
We're talking about the eagle, right? Go ahead.
And it shall be feared above all the kingdoms that were before it.
It should be feared above all the kingdoms that were before it. Okay? This particular kingdom, when it took over, there was no going back. This kingdom right here meant business. This kingdom here trampled, took over every land that tried to rise up against it. You couldn't destroy it because of the men that were bred from their youth to fight in warfare, to succeed in warfare. They were the ones that they won all the battles that they fought. And this is something that you see in this particular kingdom. All right. Read verse 14.
Verse 14. In the same shall 12 kings regain, one after another.
Now, what did we just read in 2nd Ezra chapter 11? In the first verses, it says that this eagle had how many wings or feathers? It said it had, let me get it. This eagle had 12 feathered wings, okay? It says, in the same shall 12 kings reign, one after another. Go ahead, give me verse, let me see.
15?
Yeah, let me get verse.
Whereof the second shall begin to reign, and shall have more time than any of the 12.
All right. Remember that. This is a very important part here where it says this kingdom that will reign on the earth is going to have 12 kings, okay, during its ascension period is what it's talking about. Whereof the second will begin to reign and it'll have more time than any of the 12 that are going to be mentioned that are a part of this eagle, right? Because it's talking about the feathers. How do we know that? Well, let's go back to chapter 11. Now I need you to jump down to verse 12, okay?
Verse 12. And I looked, and behold, on the right side there arose another feather, and reigned over all the earth.
And reigned over all the earth, okay? And it's talking about this kingdom that had so much power that the known earth was controlled by it. Go ahead.
Verse 13.
Yeah.
Verse 13. And so it was that when it reigned, the end of it came, and the place thereof appeared no more.
And the place thereof appeared no more. So it's talking about how these kings rise, they reign, and then they fell, or whether through death or being overturned, and then that was the end of their reign. Okay. Will you just read up? Continue. Go ahead.
And the end of it came, and the place thereof appeared no more. So the next following stood up and reigned and had a great time.
Now, what did we just read in 2nd Ezra chapter 12 and verse 15? Read that.
Whereof the second shall begin to reign and shall have more time than any of the 12.
Go back to 2nd Ezra chapter 11 verse 13. Read that again. The last part, second half. So that the next
following stood up and reigned and had a great time.
Why am I going back and forth between these two? Because what you need to understand here is that out of these 12 kings that reigned, the second one reigned for the longest amount of time. Now, where have we seen that in history? Let's look at the Roman history. Since this book here and other books that are similar to it say that the Roman Empire is the empire of the Edomites, that the fourth beast was a beast that came up and had 12 kings that reigned. So let's go down the list. The first to reign in Rome was a man named Julius Caesar. You want to write these down. Make sure you're writing these down. The first king out of the 12 kings, his name was Julius Caesar. He reigned from 27 BC to 14 AD. Okay, 27 BC to 14 AD. Salakia. No, it wasn't his. It was Let me see. 12 Caesars, Julius. No, that was Octavian actually. Hold on. Let me see. Hold on. Let me get this real quick. I'm just gonna get it. What years did Julius Caesar reign? I had this earlier. Okay, there it is. All right. So he reigned from 46 BC. Okay, so he reigned from approximately 46 BC to 44 BC. Okay, then Rome went into a bit of a, what do you call it? A bit of a turmoil at the time and trying to figure out who was going to reign next. Okay, so Julius Caesar, the first king, reigned from 46 BC to 44 AD. He reigned 2 years, which is not really a good run, right? But the second one went by the name of Augustus, who was also named Octavian. Went from 27 BC to 14 AD. Add that up. How many years is that? 41 years. Augustus Caesar reigned for 41 years. That was the second out of the 12 Caesars. And you read about this in Roman history. The 12 Caesars were the first 12 kings that reigned in Rome. And the first king, his name was Julius Caesar. He reigned 2 years. And that's what it says. And so it was that when it rained, the end of it came, and the place thereof appeared no more. Like the place thereof appeared no more because there was a time frame between this Julius Caesar and Augustus taking power. And then it says, so the next following stood up and reigned and had a great time. Augustus, where it says in chapter 12, verse 15, says that he shall have more time than any of the 12. Augustus, who was also known as Octavian, was reigned from 27 BC to 14 AD. That was 41 years. They actually, he was one of the most famous Roman kings, so much so that they called this the Augustan age. So Augustus Caesar, he was the one that had more time as a king out of any of the 12. And the Bible prophesying this. It said this before he even had that, before he was even like born. Because mind you, the apocryphal books take place before Christ. And we know that Julius, when did Julius reign? Around the time that Christ was alive, or at least prior to the time that Christ was alive. And then Octavian was like that overlap, because it says from 27 BC to 14 AD, which tells you what? That he was alive at the same time that Christ was. But these words were written and given in a vision to Esdras years before this ever even occurred, because he was given an understanding deeper than what Daniel was given hundreds of years even before he even saw it, which is just incredible when you think about it. Give me Second Ezra chapter 12, verse 16.
You said verse 16?
Yeah.
This is the book of 2 Ezra, chapter 12, verse 16.
Go ahead.
And this do the 12 wings signify, which thou sawest.
So, and this do the 12 wings signify, which thou sawest. It says in verse 14, in the same shall 12 kings reign, one after another, right? So we know that the 12 wings of the eagle are the 12 kings that basically founded Rome, okay? So that's why we're seeing in the scriptures here just how impeccable it is with history and how that actually took place, because this was written before the Caesars even existed, and then it prophesied even how long some of them were going to rule. It even said that Augustus was going to have a longer rulership than any of the other ones. How do you know? Let's go back to 2 Ezra chapter 11. Give me verse 13 again. Mm-hmm.
Verse 13?
Go ahead.
This is the book of 2 Ezra chapter 11, verse 13.
Read.
And so it was that when it rained, the end of it came,
Mm-hmm.
and the place thereof appeared no more.
Right, because king rules, then he loses his rulership, and then he doesn't appear no more. So it's talking about the wings on that bird, that eagle. Keep going.
So the next following stood up and reigned and had a great time.
And next following stood up and reigned and had a great time, meaning he had a longer time. Keep going.
Verse 14, and it happened that when it rained, the end of it came also.
Okay, go ahead.
Like as the first, so that it appeared no more.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead and give verse 15.
Verse 15, then came there a voice unto it, and said, verse 16, here thou hast borne rule over the earth so long. This I say unto thee, before thou beginnest to appear no more.
Then there came a voice unto it, meaning this king was given a vision. It says, hear thou that hast borne rule over the earth so long. This I say unto thee, before thou beginnest to appear no more, meaning before you lose your rulership, Augustus or Octavian. He says, verse 17, there shall none after thee attain unto thy time, neither unto the half thereof. Meaning, if Octavian ruled for 41 years, none of the other 12 Caesars would rule even half of 41, which would be around 20 years, right? So let's see if that actually occurred. Okay, go ahead in verse 18. Go ahead.
Verse 18, then arose the third and reigned as the other before.
Okay.
And appeared no more also.
And appeared no more also. Okay, so let me see. It says that Tiberius, which was the third Caesar, reigned from, I believe it was 14 AD to 37 AD. Okay, 14 AD to 37 AD. So around the halfway point of Augustus. Okay, and that's the reason why it says that nobody's gonna reign as long as that second one, because Augustus and the Tiberius, which was the third one, he reigned from 14 AD to about 37 AD from some of the sources that I'm reading here. So, and you can even go into looking this history yourself to see if Octavian really did reign that long. But you're starting to see that the same people that took the Apocrypha out of the Bible are the same people that the Apocrypha is prophesying about. That's important. That's a very vital part of the Bible, right? Because what it does is it masks the enemy. And when you see the ISUPK say that the oppressor is the devil the Bible speaks of, the word devil just means deceiver. You ain't got to get all spooky about it. You ain't got to get all offended by it, because that's the role that he plays on this earth, the devil, who is the Roman Catholic, church, who is the Roman Empire. The Romans are the ones that did this. They're the ones that are saying that, look, they're the ones that change the times and laws. They're the ones that put drugs in your communities. They're the ones that teach Catholicism, which is rooted in pedophilia and things like that. That they're the ones that say great things against the Most High and then go to change times and laws and everything of the like. All right. So that's what you're starting to see. Give me so you said, read that verse one more time.
Verse 19.
Mm-hmm. Read verse 18.
This is the book of 2 Ezra, chapter 11, verse 18. Then arose the third and reigned as the other before, and appeared no more also.
Go ahead.
Verse 19. So went it with all the residue one after another, as that everyone reigned, and then appeared no more. Verse 20. Then I beheld, and lo, in process of time, the feathers that followed stood up upon the right side, that they might rule also. And some of them ruled, but within a while they appeared no more. So
let's go through the list and actually show you just how this fell into place. Now, again, we've gone through 3 of those wings on the eagle, 3 of those kings out of the 12 that were the foundation of what we now know as the fourth beast, or the Roman Empire, which we brought out straight from a book from 150 years ago. It says that the fourth one was Caligula, which reigned from 37 AD to 41 AD, which was only like 4 years. The scriptures just said that they may rule also, and some of them ruled, but within a while they appeared no more. So that's what you're starting to see here. Caligula, then you had Claudius, who reigned from 41 AD to 54 AD. All right. So that was like 13 years, which again kind of follows what you're seeing, that none of them are actually reigning barely even half of what Octavian reigned for, because Octavian reigned for the longest time. And the scriptures prophesy that he was going to reign for the longer time out of any of the other 12 kings. Right. So let's continue. Let's see what else we got. You have Nero, Salakia. So it was Julius, Octavian, Tiberius, Caligula. That's 4 of them. Then you had Claudius, which went from 41 AD to 54 AD. Then you had Nero, 54 AD to 68 AD, 14 years. Then you had Galba. This is where I need you to get verse 21. Go ahead.
Verse 21. For some of them were set up, but ruled not.
For what?
For some of them were set up, but ruled not.
Some of them were set up, but ruled not. Let's see that if that occurred. So you had after Nero, you had Galba, which reigned from 68 AD to 69 AD. He barely even reigned for a year, so he didn't really even have time to reign. Otho, which was the 8th Caesar, he was reigning from January 69 AD to April 14th of 69 AD, where I believe he was assassinated. So he didn't even reign but for a few months before he was assassinated, and the scriptures prophesied that. You seeing that? Are you seeing how it's matching up with itself? The scriptures is always going to show you the prophecies and the histories and the proofs of it. And like I said, that these kings, go back to 2nd Ezra chapter 12 one more time. Give me verse 14 again.
This is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 12, verse 14.
Uh-huh.
In the same shall 12 kings reign, and one after another.
And those are the wings that we just read about in chapter 11. Go ahead.
Verse 15. Wherefore the second shall begin to reign, and shall have more time than any of the 12.
And is that not what happened? Right? Because we just read about how Augustus went from 27 BC to 14 AD. So he had a longer time of reigning than any of the other 12. Give me verse 16.
Verse 16. And this do the 12 wings sanctify, which thou sawest.
All right. Let me see. Let's see. So that's crazy, right? You're talking about the Caesars right there. And it's setting it up. And I'll go over the rest of them real quick because I wanna cover some of that stuff. Give me verse 21 again. Chapter 11, verse 21.
This is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 11, verse 21. For some of them were set up, but ruled not.
And that's what we were talking about when we read about Galba and Otho, and I believe Vitellius, because he didn't even really reign either. Continue. Go ahead.
Verse 22. After this I looked, and behold, the 12 feathers appeared no more, nor the 2 little feathers.
So just to clear that up, after Vitellius, you had Vespasian, right, who ruled Rome between 69 AD to approximately 79 AD. So he reigned for 10 years. Then you had Titus, who ruled over Rome from 79 AD to approximately 81 AD. And we know Titus was the one that was a commander in the army that overtook Jerusalem in 70 AD, which caused the Israelites that were in the tribe of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi at the time to flee into Africa, which will take you to other history books like the ones that Officer Kabar brought out in previous classes, Babylon to Timbuktu, where it talks about those civilizations that were in Rome taking over the Israelite land and causing the Israelites to flee into Africa because they were trying to blend in with other dark-skinned people, right? So now we're starting to see how the history actually adds up, because parts of the history were taken out of the Bible. The Isupk puts it right back together. We're piecing these things back together, and we're going precept upon precept to show you that this is history and it's prophecy, and only the Bible could do this. Only the Bible can actually show you things like this, where it all lines up to what you're seeing today is a direct result of everything that has happened in the past that has led to the judgment of the enemy of the Most High. Because why? Because this is the people that destroyed us. This is the people that we know when we read about this. And give me Psalm chapter 83 real quick. The Roman Empire is God's enemy. Of course, the Roman Empire is going to lie about what Christ looked like. Of course, the Roman Empire is going to say it's okay for you to be a homosexual and for you to smoke weed and for them to promote all manner of whoredom all over the internet, because our people are so deaf, dumb, and blind. We don't pick up any books anymore. And that's why it's important for you to take notes about the things that we're talking about. I hope that you now understand why I said that it was good for you to take notes, because everything that has led up to this scripture right here has proven solidly that the scriptures is clearly saying that that fourth beast is what became Rome. Okay, but we're not done. There's still more that we need to get for you to understand the full picture and how it relates to what we see today. All right. What was it I was having you doing?
Psalm chapter 80, verse 3?
Yeah, Psalm chapter 88. No, Psalm chapter 83.
Oh, Psalm chapter 83, verse which one?
Psalm chapter 83. Where we at?
Start at verse 1.
Yeah, go ahead and start at verse 1.
We read this prayer all the time.
All right, this is the book of Psalm, chapter 83, verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God.
Now you understand why we choose this prayer, because it's historically accurate for us to say this prayer, because we understand that God's enemies have planned against his people. Read on.
Verse 2. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult.
A tumult.
Tumults, like it. And they that hate thee have lifted up thy head.
Uh-huh.
Verse 3. They have taken company counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones.
And consulted against thy hidden ones. Go ahead.
Verse 4. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
Right, because the Roman Empire, who we now know derives from the Edomite, the sworn enemy of Jacob, is what the Bible prophesied to become the fourth kingdom. And that fourth kingdom, that Roman Empire, made it a purpose to make sure that we did not remember who we were. That's why they remove books like that from the Bible. That's why they don't tell you that Native Americans that wore fringes were trying to keep the laws of the Bible from the books of the Old Testament, and try to keep us separated so they can continue to spread their influence over the world. And it is also biblical prophecy that they were going to do that from the first place, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. Give me verse 5. Go ahead.
Verse 5. For they have consulted together with one consent.
Uh-huh.
They're confederate against thee.
Okay.
Verse 6. The tabernacles of Edom,
Mm-hmm.
and the Ishmaelites,
Mm-hmm.
and of Moab, and the Hagarenes.
And the Hagarenes.
Verse 7.
That's good, because the one that we wanted to get was the first one, the one that said Edom, which is what the Edomite nation is. So the one that spearheaded that movement of trying to keep us from knowing who we were was the fourth beast, which is why it said that they would speak great things against the Most High, that they would think to change times and laws to make sure that they bamboozled you into celebrating Christmas, which was one of their customs that they kind of mixed with Christianity and the Bible to fool you into falling for the devil's trick. You understand? And that to this day is affecting our people, and our people continue to be deaf, dumb, and blind because of it. You understand? Let me go ahead and go back to 2nd Ezra chapter 12 now. Let me just go ahead and clean that up a little bit. Let's see here. Now, let me see. Give me verse 22.
This is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 12, verse 22.
Mm-hmm.
And whereas thou sawest 3 heads resting, this is the interpretation. Verse 23.
Mm-hmm.
In his last days shall the Most High rise up 3 kingdoms.
Now remember, the eagle had 3 heads. There's a triple-headed eagle, all right? And it had 3 heads, and it says that in the last days, the Most High will raise up these 3 kingdoms, which were a conglomerate that derived from the same eagle, from the same bloodline, so to speak. And keep going.
And renew many things therein,
Mm-hmm.
and they shall have the domination of the earth.
And here's a bonus scripture. Back up. Give me verse 18. Go ahead.
Verse 18. That after the time of the kingdom
Of that kingdom, meaning of the Caesars, is talking about that eagle with the 12 wings. That after the time of that kingdom, go ahead.
There shall arise great strivings,
Uh-huh.
and it shall stand in peril of falling.
And it shall stand in peril of falling. So this kingdom called Rome, now we know as the Edomite Empire, will be in danger of falling. Go ahead.
Nevertheless, it shall not then fall,
Mm-hmm.
but shall be restored again to his beginning.
Okay, hold that. Don't lose where you're at. Give me Revelation chapter 20. Give me that. 8:43, sir. So we're getting there. Come on. Revelation chapter 20. Give me verse. This is where the kicker is. Verse 1. Give me Revelation chapter 20, verse 1.
This is the book of Revelation, chapter 20, verse 1.
Now, before you read that, I need y'all to pay attention here, because the scripture in 2nd Ezra said that in verse 18 it says that after the time of that kingdom there shall arise great strivings, and it shall stand in peril of falling. Nevertheless, it shall not then fall, but shall be restored again to his beginning. Now, read what you got. Tell them where you're at.
This is the book of Revelation, chapter 20, verse 1.
Go ahead.
And I saw an angel come down from heaven,
Yeah.
having the key of the bottomless pit.
There goes that term again, that bottomless pit that we read about in Revelation chapter 9. Go ahead.
And a great chain in his hand.
All right, so this angel had a great chain in his hand. Go ahead.
Verse 2. And he laid hold on the dragon,
Mm-hmm.
that old serpent.
That old serpent, that same spirit, that same demon, right? Which is the devil. Go ahead.
Which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years.
Now, this happened in history already. People see this and they think it's some spooky thing in the future where Satan's going to be, cast down. This happened. It's called the Dark Ages, because that kingdom that we saw the ascension of, the kingdom of Rome that was ascending in the early times of Christ, they went up until shows the official fall of Rome started sometime between 400 to 500 AD, marked at around 1453, which was Slovakia. 400. When was the fall of Constantinople? 453 AD was the fall of Constantinople, and that was somewhat of the beginning of what became the Dark Ages, which lasted for 1,000 years, where the Edomites that were in control of the land at the time, they completely fell off. And so for 1,000 years, they no longer had hold over the planet. And so after that 1,000 years, look, read verse 3. Go ahead.
Verse 3. And cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, and he should deceive the nations no more.
For 1,000 years, their influence had no effect on the planet. Go ahead.
Till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, he must be loosed a little season.
Loosed a little season. And so in the late 1300s and 1400s, you had the Renaissance era, where the Edomite Empire that used to be the Roman Empire came back to life, which thus takes us back to 2nd Ezra chapter 12, verse 18, where it says that it shall stand in peril of failing. Nevertheless, it shall not then fall, but shall be restored again to his beginning. That is talking about the fall of the Roman Empire. It didn't really die, because remember, the Dark Ages did happen, and it did last 1,000 years. But the Roman Empire came back in the form of what you now see in the world today in its present modern day form. You understand? Democracy and things like that. right? Even when you look at America's symbolism, they take from the Roman archaeology and architecture and everything like that. I even have an image here that I want you to see. All right, I want you to see this picture here, because this whole entire time, what have we been talking about? We've been talking about an eagle, right? A triple-headed eagle. Look at this picture right here. This picture right here shows that the symbol of the eagle has been used all throughout Greco-Roman and European empires. The Holy Roman Empire, present day Germany has the eagle. Mexico, who we know is run by the Spanish, set up by the Spanish, has the eagle, right? America, the eagle. Nazi Germany had the eagle. The Great Seal of America. You could go all throughout history. You'll see that they use that all throughout their entire existence of power, ever since even in the time of Rome, but especially afterwards, after the Renaissance occurred, where they are let loose a little season to deceive the world once again. And that's how they deceive you with Caesar Borgia. They've deceived us with Christmas. They deceived us with the Greco-Roman influences that derive from that wounded eagle head from back then. That's why it says that in the Revelation chapter 20, that has occurred. That has occurred, where it says that and cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal upon him that he should deceive the nations no more till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And so the dark ages lasted 1,000 years. And now you're starting to see prophecies unfolding now on the earth now that he has been let loose to deceive the world once again. So we're finishing up here pretty quickly. I wanted y'all to get some of the gist of that history and how the Bible not only breaks down the Caesars and the Greco-Roman Empire's ascension, but also the way it got wounded, as it describes perfectly in the book of 2nd Ezra, and how it comes back to continue its reign on the earth until, of course, Christ's return is what we're going to see right here. Go ahead and give me verse. We were just at 2nd Ezra chapter 12. Let me put that back on the screen. Go back to 2nd Ezra chapter 12, and we're going to finish up here. All right. 2nd Ezra 12. And what is the theme of the class? We're understanding that the kingdom of the beast is what puts hell on the earth, right? Is that not what it does? Because when you look at the earth right now, it's currently controlling everything that we have to use on a day-to-day basis. You have to pay $5 a gallon for gas. You have to pay crazy amounts for food. $50 worth of groceries doesn't get you nearly as much as it did in the early 2000s or in the 1990s, right? Because inflation is just so skyrocketing right now that all they care about is money in their kingdom, and it's continuing to keep us in the hellish condition where we have to sell drugs just to get enough money to pay our rent. How we end up clawing and scraping at each other because we are in a condition of ignorance and without our culture. And this is how you start to come to understand just how important the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge is, because we take all that history, we take all that culture, and we're giving it back to our people to take back what belongs to us, because the earth belongs to us, not to them. That's a powerful message to understand, y'all. Give me most of the dwellers. Go me verse 24 now. We'll finish this out. Go ahead.
This is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 12, verse 24.
Mm-hmm.
And of those that dwell therein with much oppression.
Right, of those that dwell therein with much oppression, because it says that in the last days the Most High will raise up 3 kingdoms, and they shall have dominion over all the earth. So these 3 conglomerates of that eagle that we now know that represent the kingdom of Esau, of Edom, is oppressing the people that are within their countries. Go ahead.
Above all those that were before them.
Uh-huh.
Therefore are they called the heads of the eagle.
The heads of the eagle. So it goes with their symbolicism. Go ahead.
Verse 25. For these are they that shall accomplish his wickedness.
For these are they that shall accomplish his wickedness. Go ahead.
And that shall finish his last end.
Keep going. Verse 26.
Verse 26. And whereas thou sawest that the great head appeared no more,
Mm-hmm.
it
It signified.
that one of them shall die upon his bed.
Give me verse 28.
Verse 28. For the sword of one shall devour the other,
Mm-hmm.
but at the last shall he fall through the sword himself.
Right, because they're going to end up turning on each other. Now, what do you? We just read in the news article, World War III has started. Russia, who also uses the eagle, is waging war against what? The other heads of the eagle. They're fighting each other. It's biblical prophecy that they do these things. In fact, it straight up tells you. I forget what scripture it was, but go ahead and keep going. Keep reading that. That's just crazy. What's how on point this is. Go ahead.
Verse 29.
Where is it?
And whereas thou sawest two feathers under the wings passing over the head, that is one right side.
Slaggy, give me verse 31.
Verse 31. And the lion whom thou sawest rising up out of the wood, and roaring, and speaking to the eagle, and rebuking her for her righteousness with all the words which thou hast heard.
Mm-hmm. Now hold that. Give me Revelation chapter 20, verse 8. Because this is where you know it's talking about the Russia and America bringing forth the end war. All right. Revelation chapter 20, verse 8. So verse 7. Start at verse 7.
This is the book of Revelation, chapter 20, verse 8. Or verse 7.
Yeah, go ahead.
And when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loose out of his prison.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Verse 8. And shall go out to deceive the nations which are in four quarters of the earth.
And shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four corners of the earth. We've seen Rome do that. Keep going.
Gog and Magog.
Who?
Gog and Magog.
Who?
Gog and Magog.
And who are they? Russia and those that are of Russia. Read on.
To gather them together to battle.
To gather them together to battle. Go ahead.
The number of whom is as the sand of the sea.
And what is Russia doing right now? They're gathering everybody together to battle. That's what they're doing. That's why the article that we just read says World War III has started. I'll read the title to this other one. We won't pull it because our time is up. Putin state TV propagandist Olga Skabeva says World War III has already begun. They are gathering the battle together. Gog and Magog, they're the ones that are ushering in that prophecy because they are those eagle heads snapping at each other, getting ready to destroy one another. Our job, of course, is to let them kill each other. The Most High has set up this narrative so that us, as we begin to come back to our culture, can become a righteous nation while they destroy each other, and Satan will be casting out Satan. These wars and rumors of wars are nothing for you to be afraid of because we have gone through the history to show you exactly what it's talking about, who the beast is, what the end result is, so that you now have the understanding and the universal practical knowledge to avoid all that BS and take part in this instead. Give me last scripture, Revelation chapter 5, verse 10. Revelation chapter 5, verse 10, and we'll leave it at that. Because hell is going to come to an end. And the ushering in of the righteous people on this earth again is what we're going to do in Isupk. You understand? And there's nothing that's going to stop us from that. Because now that Satan has already, his time is expiring, and no longer is he going to be able to deceive the nations anymore. Because now we have the righteous men that the scripture says, and before you read that, it said in 2nd Ezra chapter 12, it said, and the lion whom thou sawest rising up out of the wood and roaring and speaking to the eagle and rebuking her for her unrighteousness with all the words which thou hast heard. This is the anointed, which the highest hath kept for them and for their wickedness unto the end. He shall reprove them and shall upbraid them with their cruelty. And we know that to be Christ in the tribe of Judah, in the Isupk, the start of 1 West, 112th Street, 5th Street, Harlem, New York, in 1969. They cry out against the eagle. They're rebuking the eagle. That's why you go out into the streets, corners, and you hear these priests and prophets of the Most High telling the devil who he is, because it's the truth. It's the history of the Bible, and we're breaking it down clear as day for you to understand, Israel. Give me Revelation chapter 5, verse 20. Go ahead. Yeah. Was that the one I said? 5 verse 10. Slaki, go ahead.
This is the book of Revelation, chapter 5, verse 10.
Go ahead.
And hast made us made us unto our God kings and priests, and we shall reign on the earth.
And we shall reign on the earth. These blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians are no longer going to be in hell anymore. We're no longer going to be shooting each other up, dealing with afflictions and punishments and death and destruction, because we are going to be a righteous people made of priests and kings and princesses and daughters that don't act like whores and men that don't kill each other. That's what the Isupk is all about. So before you try to say we're a hate group because we say that the white man is the devil, you need to understand that that is the damn truth. It is the truth. And we show it to you with the Bible, and we prove it to you with the history. So with that, we're the Isupk, start out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. We're here to teach the truth of the Bible, that blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians are the real Jews that the Bible speaks of. And after that class, if you haven't been paying attention, I don't know what else to tell you, because there's no disputing that. All right. So with that, I want to pass the class off to young man Kendall for the security announcements. You got that? Let's see. Where's that? There you go.
These are the Isupk security announcements. We are the Isupk, started on 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rule for new brother and sister. When a new brother and sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There's another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6 months period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is commandment. You can find this in the book of Numbers, chapter 18, verse 21, in the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 8 through 10. Maishra means tenth in Hebrew. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you. Give to the Treasury Department or teacher. Priest funds. Free will offerings for priests, not mandatory, whatsoever amount you would like. Upcoming holy convocations. Memorial blowing of trumpets. First day of the 7th month. Starts Sunday, 25th, September 22. You can find this in the book of Leviticus, chapter 23, verse 24 through 26. If anyone wants to become a trooper in the school, to start wearing all black, boots, shirts, pants, headband, scarf. And that concludes the Isupk security announcements.
Most High in Christ. Get that. All right, Amajim, Sar, upon Mahakwadam. Turn and face the east. We're going to say the Lord's Prayer in ancient Hebrew. Abanawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Hayah, Shemka, Yahweh, Malakutka, Taba'ah, Ratazaka, Hayah, Aisha, Ba'arataza, Kawa, Hayah, Bashamayim, Natalanoa, Lacham, Kao, Yawam, Wasalaklanao, Kabawathnao, Kasalakhnao, Kawawathyanao, Wala'ah, Tabiya'ai Banasaya 1, Abo, Hawashai now, Mayan, Rai, Haya, Laka, Hamalakwa, Waha'ala, Wata Pa'arah, La'aiwalamyam, Aman. And what we said was, what's up? Oh, yeah, there you go. Go ahead and read that in English.
And what we said was, Our Father,
Our Father,
which art in heaven,
which art in heaven,
hallowed be thy name.
hallowed be thy name.
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
thy kingdom come.
thy kingdom come.
Thy will be done.
Thy will be done
In
in earth
as it is in heaven.
as it is in heaven.
Give us this day.
Give us this day
Our daily bread.
our daily bread,
And forgive us our debts.
and forgive us our debts
As we forgive our debtors.
as we forgive our debtors.
And lead us not
And lead us not
into temptation.
into temptation,
But deliver us.
from evil.
For thine is.
For thine is
the kingdom.
the kingdom
And the power.
and the power
And the glory.
and the glory
Forever.
forever.
So be it.
So be it. All right. Individual, we're going to start turning face of brothers for one courtesy salute. Individual, Amajim Shabbat, Amajim, Barak, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai Barakatham, Yajimatah. All right, sorry, turning face of sisters for one courtesy salute. Individual, Amajim Shabbat, Amajim, Barak, Yahweh Shemar Thun Bashim Yahushai, Yajimatah. Class dismissed.